Welcome all. So, now we are meeting here for the last lecture of this course, and we are discussing the concept of management control system. And in the previous classes I discussed with you certain important techniques of say introducing or implementing the MCS, management control system, in any business organization. So, carrying this discussion forward, now I will talk to you some other techniques, that how we can use some other techniques to improve the overall performance of the organization. And the next technique in the series is the quality control. Quality control is a very important aspect of improving the operating performance of the organization. Your product must be a very say you can call it as good quality product which we are going to manufacture. Your service must be of a very good quality service which you are going to render to the people. Only then the people will stay with you. Otherwise, because after globalization, supply side has improved like anything, even in a country like India also. So, you cannot say that today the people or the customers who are supporting the company X, they will continue to doing so unlimitedly, because they have no other alternative. Today there are series of alternatives available, and people, the moment they get the option, they immediately shift to the new products or the new services. And since we are a, say you can call it as say price sensitive economy, India is a price sensitive economy, income level of the people is not very high, we have the reasonable amount of the income. So, sometimes maybe for the want of quality or reasonable quality, prices are also important for us. So, we have to maintain a balance between the quality and price, because people's income being limited, sometimes the quality is acceptable, not very excellent, but if the price is quite less, people can opt for those kind of the products also. So, it means we have to strike a balance between the product quality, then its price. And if you want to talk about the quality control is a very important technique of ensuring the better performance and the keeping the affairs of the organization under control. For example, if you talk about the electronics industry or even the two-wheelers industry, today in India, who is supplying us or providing us the two-wheelers? Largely these are the multinational companies. Honda is a company which has I think the largest market share in the scooters market, right. So, why the Honda is successful? Why their say the products like Activa and others are very successful? Because of the very good quality and very good performance of the product. The Indian companies who were there in the market before liberalization or before this Honda and other companies entered the market, they are nowhere in existence now. You can understand that which company was supplying us a scooter before Honda came to India, and today where that company is. So, we have only scooters coming from the multinational companies. The Indian company say Hero MotoCorp is also into that segment, but still the largest market share is with the Honda, and the Activa is the most preferred brand. So, it means in that case, one important reason for the product success is the good quality product. So, quality control is the very important another technique of ensuring MCS, and quality control is the effort to ensure that products and services perform to the customer satisfaction. That quality control is the effort to ensure that products and services perform to the satisfaction of customer or to the customer satisfaction. So, if the customer is satisfied in terms of quality and in terms of the price, so you can think that the future of the company is good and they can expect a good growth. If the customer is not supporting, then you can understand then what will happen to that organization, right. See, there was a company in the market product with the product Onida. There was a time when the Onida was a leader in the market, right, and they used to have a punchline that neighbors envy honors pride. But because of certain reasons now and the product Onida which was preferred by the customers too much a few years back, today they are looking for the market, they are striving for the market, because a better quality product has come up in the market from the Samsung, LG and Sony. So, it means a product which is the best in the market at one point of time, that does not stay the best, because somebody else may come out with the best options. So, always think of improving the quality of production and then sustaining in the market for long. So, what we can do? We can prepare a quality report, periodically we can prepare a quality report, and in a cost of quality report, the financial impact of the quality is displayed. In a cost of quality report, the financial impact of the quality is displayed, where we can take different measures. Prevention means no defect should be there in the product. You manufacture a product in such a way that it does not create any problem even during manufacturing, even after manufacturing or even when it reaches to the customers. And then we can talk about the internal failures. We will have to take care of internal failures so that within the organization there is a as low as failure as possible, and continuous appraisal is also required, and external failure of the product is also to be avoided. We have to make sure that prevent any kind of defects coming up in the product, prevent any kind of internal failure, prevent any type of the external failure of the product, and then always continuously keep on appraising the quality of the product, what we are doing, in which direction we are going, and what is the quality or the value of that product which we are delivering to the customers. So, quality control and preparing the quality reports, continuous quality reports is a very important component. Quickly, prevention costs are the costs incurred to prevent the production of defective products or delivery of the substandard services. Do not do that. If you want to maximize the quality of the product, you prevent any kind of the defects in the products. Appraisals costs are the appraisal costs are the costs incurred to identify defective products or services, right. So, it means if you go for regular appraisal, then you can minimize the products defects, and appraisal itself makes sure that we are very careful about the overall performance of the product within the organization and even when it reaches to the customer. Internal failure costs are the costs of defective components and final products or services that are scrapped or reworked within the organization. And external failure costs are the costs caused by the delivery of defective products or services to customers, such as field repairs, returns, and warranty expenses. So, it means all these 4, you can call it as demerits of the products or important components of ensuring the quality. We should be careful that we will prevent that nothing wrong happens with the product. We will take care of what best can be done with the help of appraisal. We will avoid all internal failures during the manufacturing process, and we will like to minimize the external failures maybe when the product has reached up to the customers. So, if you are doing all these things, it means you are a quality conscious organization and you are careful about the customers' needs. So, we can prepare the regular quality control charts. Quality control charts keep on helping us to understand that out of the total products manufactured by us during that one operating cycle or for the given amount of time, how many products are up to the mark, up to the quality, how many defective products are there, are we able to minimize the defects in the products over a period of time or not, it is a matter of control, right. So, the quality control chart is a statistical plot of measures of the various products, dimensions or attributes. This plot helps detect process deviations before the process generates defects. So, it means this is a quality control chart. Quality control chart will help you to understand that the this is the, you can say that we have given here the quality control chart, and we are trying to say here that goal of that defects is on the one side, if this yellow line says that what is the goal, that it should be around say 0.6%, not more than that, means even not 1% of the manufactured products should be defective or develop any kind of the defects. And then you try to find out that what actually we have seen while going for the performance. This red line is showing that our this defects have been sometimes for a very few say weeks, it has been less than the target of 0.6%, but many times the defects have been more than the target. So, it is a serious concern. It is a cause of concern that we should be very careful why the defects are even sometime touching 2% against the standard target of the 0.6%. So, we have to be very careful. This type of the quality charts can help us to understand in which direction we are going and whether we are ensuring the quality of the product or not, right. Then we talk about the cycle time. Cycle time is very important, another tool to improve the quality of the product. It is not only a question or maybe the requirement that you have to improve the quality of the product. You have to keep the cycle time also within the control. For example, our operating cycle is normally is of 10 days, and operating cycle is means how can you decide the operating cycle? The operating cycle is something like that, this is our operating cycle, right. In this operating cycle we have a cash here, we convert that into the raw material, that means when we purchase raw material, then we go for the issuing the this material, and then we create it to the WIP, work in process, and then from the work in process we convert that into the finished goods, and from this we go for the sales. And when you go for the sales, part of the sales are cash, which becomes a cashier, and sometime we create the sundry debtors which we sell on credit. So it means we started with the cash. Initially we had a cash in our hands, we converted that cash into raw material into work in process to finished goods to sales, and sales are means in two categories. One is the cash sales. So immediately after the say sales in the market, we could get the partially we could get the cash back, and part of the sales which are made on credit those sales will come to us at the later stage. So total investing cash and getting the total cash back is called as the operating cycle, or you can call it as the length of the operating cycle, and we have to keep it as low as possible. Quality is important, but the cycle time is also important. Cycle time, or for example it is written here, cycle time or throughput time is the time taken to complete a product or service or any of the components of the product or service. One key to improving quality is to reduce the cycle time. You have to, because if you increase the cycle time, all your input costs will go up, and if the input cost goes up, your productivity will be affected. So you have to achieve a twin objective: manufacture the quality products and then to within the minimum possible time, so that your operating structure is working efficiently and your financial structure is going to reflect that performance. Then controlling of the cycle time. Lowering cycle time requires smooth running processes and high quality, and also creates increased flexibility and quicker reactions to customer needs, right. Lowering cycle time requires a smooth running processes and high quality, and also creates increased flexibility and quicker reactions to the customer needs. So controlling the cycle time is also equally important. Now we will talk about something which is called as the productivity because as I was talking to you, cycle time, they are connected techniques. When you go for the quality control, you prepare the quality charts, you minimize the defects, you create the quality products, and after that we talk about that, say reducing the cycle time, again manufacturing the good quality products within the minimum possible time, improving upon the cost effectiveness, and then if you are able to do that, if you are able to minimize the cycle time, certainly your productivity is going to improve. And what is the ultimate objective of the firm? That we should improve the productivity. Productivity is basically the ratio of the input to output, or you can call it as the output to input. How much input we are giving to get the desired amount of output, that is called as the productivity. And increasing the productivity is a sum total of many efforts: quality of raw material, availability of the different other factors of production, efficiency of the labor, availability of the power and the good quality plant building machinery, everything. So if our overall operating manufacturing processes are efficient, certainly you are within the minimum input, or by giving the minimum input you can enhance the productivity, you can enhance the output, and that is ultimate objective. Management control system, why we are talking about is that we want to maximize the performance of the organizations to a level where it is called as the best performance. So we are talking about the different techniques, and both the techniques in terms of improving the operating results and in terms of improving the financial results. So if your operations improve, financials will automatically improve. So productivity is another important area that we can say make sure that with the minimum input our the output is best, or you can call it as not best, at least it should be optimum. And when it is optimum, when there is no wastage, we are preventing the defects, we are making the best utilization of our inputs, then the say your productivity goes up. So for example, you can show this type of the chart, that what is our productivity. More than half of the MNCs manage productivity as part of the efforts to improve their competitiveness. It means productivity means in terms of this type of the pie charts, that in say how many total segments of the market, in how many segments we are existing. and the larger the market share the firm has, it is indication that because of many factors including the better productivity, because when the productivity will improve, with the minimum input you will come out with the maximum output. So, what will happen? Cost per unit of the production will come down, and when the cost per unit of production will come down, certainly your prices will be very less or very competitive, and when that all happens, then certainly this kind of the market share pictures can be created. That means more than half of the market we are existing, right. So, it means the control of productivity, improvement in the productivity leads to the overall better results and then the better performance. So, control of productivity means how should outputs and inputs be measured, how should outputs and inputs be measured as well as managed, right. Labor intensive organizations are concerned with increasing the productivity of labor. So, labor based measures are appropriate. How to keep your labor motivated, how to find the labor which is more efficient, how to keep labor committed and create that sense of goal congruence in the mind of the labor in your organization. Different ways and means can be found out. So, ultimately if we are able to do that, we are able to achieve the increased performance, increased productivity, and it is a result of many organizational say control techniques. Then is control of productivity. Highly automated companies are concerned with machines use and productivity of capital investment. So, capacity based measures such as the percentage of the time machines are available may be most important to them. So, highly automated companies are concerned with the machine use and productivity of capital investment. So, capacity based measures such as the percentage of time machines are available and may be most important for them, right. So, it means we have to say make sure that all the factors of production, that is a man, material, machine, everything is moving or we are using or utilizing it to the best possible extent, best possible level, so that overall output goes up maximum, becomes maximum as compared to the input given, and within the minimum cost of production you are able to come out with the finished units final production, and you can rule the market by controlling the prices. Now, quickly we will talk about certain other things, that is the say services, government and non-profit organizations. Is there any possibility of the management control system in the say non-profit organizations also, or only we can talk in terms of the business organizations also, or non-government organizations also, or maybe the profit organizations also. So, we say when we talk about the MCS, management control system is equally important in all the organizations, whether they are profit making, whether they are government, non-government, manufacturing or service organizations. Everywhere you need the right quality of the products, the best delivery, the best customer satisfaction, because everybody is generating services. All organizations, they are generating services, they are creating products, and when they are generating services and creating products, ultimate purpose is delivering the best value to its customers. Whether we are doing it for the profit motive or we are doing it without the profit motive, that is not the case. The important thing is that what we are producing, why we are into existence, and are we able to achieve or deliver the best or not, that is important. So, most service organizations, service, government and non-profit organizations have more difficulty implementing management control system, because the say you can call it as measures of exercising control in the non-profit organizations are not very standardized. They are not very standardized, they are maybe sometime less than standardized, or because people do not take them seriously. So, there some problem comes, but management control system is equally important in the non-government government organizations also and the non-profit organizations also. Outputs of services and non-profit organizations are more difficult to measure than are the cars or computers that are produced by the manufacturers. In services efficiency sometimes, for example, you talk about the mobile telephony, right, it is a service based organizations, it is a service, important service, we are using it. So, mobile telephony now sometimes we are in a fix that which company in India is giving the better internet services, which calling services, right. So, once we use the services of one organization, sometimes we remain less satisfied and we switch over to the other organization, and the other organization in other form also we feel the same kind of the situation is prevailing. So, it means we are not able to find out what are the important parameters, we are not able to measure it, that what is the effectiveness of the service of the other companies. So, it means some standard measures have to be found out, right. So, because if you are manufacturing a car, you are manufacturing a computer, you can easily find out that in my segment of the car how much price I can pay for that car, what kind of the efficiency from the product I can expect. Is much more easier and better to measure the performance of a product as compared to the performance of a service. Similarly, in the non-profit organizations, because profit is a very important measure of measuring the performance of any organization. You have fixed up the target that this much of the profit we want to earn in the say coming 1 quarter of the year or in the next 3 months, and if that is not achieved, you can find out that there is something wrong happening in the organization. But in the non-profit organizations, when we are not focusing upon the profit, it means ultimate purpose is that we have to maximize, maximum we have to achieve is that your firm must be operating, your organization must be operating at the break even, that your say the price of your services or the products must be equal to the cost. So, it means are we able to reduce the cost so that the price also can be minimized and the benefit can be passed on to the final user. Because if we are saying that whatever we manufacture, whatever the cost we incur for manufacturing that product, we are not to enter the say into the profit sort of things. So, it means what we are going to do is we are going to recover only the cost price. So, it means if we are able to pass on that product on a price which is basically based upon the cost. So, whether that is the effective price or not, we could have tried to reduce the cost further so that we do not have the profit in mind, but we could have further reduced the price to the final user. So, since there is no proper quantitative parameter for measuring the performance of the non-profit organizations, similarly even the services organizations. So, sometimes the difficulties come, but it is not impossible to introduce the MCS. MCS is equally important in the service organizations, in the say government organizations also, and in the non-profit organizations also. In the government services we always complain of say lower quality of the services, delayed services, troubled services, and that only one important reason could be there is no effective management control system, because means we have not devised such measure that when we go to the electricity office to pay our electricity bill, how much time means we are supposed to be there and the person should be taking for us to stand in the queue and then to pay the bill to that person sitting on the window, how much time should be there. There is no standard measure for that. So, the person sitting there, he is also working with his own speed, people are standing in the queue, they are getting frustrated, they are getting demoralized. So, it means if some standard time is given by that organization that within half an hour you have to collect the bills from the minimum 15 people, it means per person the collection time should be not more than 2 minutes. He will also be careful and customer will also be very happy, but that kind of the standards are not there. So, MCS is little difficult to implement, but it is equally important, equally desirable. Then we talk about your say accounting information. A management control system uses management accounting tools such as budgets and performance reports to focus resources and talents of the individuals in an organization on such goals as quality, cost and service. Right. A management control system uses management accounting tools such as budgets and performance reports to focus resources and talents of the individuals in an organization on such goals as the quality, cost and service. We are going for, we have learned all these 4 or 5 techniques during this discussion in this past say about say 30 hours of the discussion. We learned, we started with the basic understanding of the say management accounting as a discipline, then we started moving with the cost sheet, then we further went with the budgets, with the standard costing, with the marginal costing and then activity based costing. What all those techniques were? All those are the sort of accounting measures. Cost accounting and financial accounting we used hand in hand, and then we try to find out that if you prepare the budget for the organization as a whole, you prepare the budgeted income statement, you prepare the budgeted balance sheet, and if the budgeted income statement is in our hands, then what is there? Budgeted profit or loss is known to us in advance. We can fluctuate little bit, we can deviate from the say desired results, but if we deviate, that deviation is also pre-decided, and the reasons for that deviations are also pre-identified or pre-decided. So, it means accounting information is most important, and that is why I am saying in the business organizations, because we talk about the say financial information, and in the accounting we can use only that information, only that component of the information which can be measured in the monetary or the financial terms. So, it means exercising, implementing the management control system is much easier, better and helpful in the business organizations, because everything has to be measured in terms of the money or the monetary terms. So, accounting information is very, very important. I told you in the beginning of the discussion that management accounting itself is not at all a discipline. It is the discipline based upon the two branches, other existing branches of accounting, financial accounting and cost accounting. These two branches of accounting go hand in hand, and we should have the prerequisite as a knowledge of these two branches of accounting. If you are having the sufficient knowledge of financial accounting and the cost accounting, then only you can understand and you can make sure that how to take the important decisions in the organizations by the management at any level, because everything has to be converted into the financial or the monetary terms, right. So, that is the prerequisite: financial accounting, cost accounting, and converting everything into the monetary terms, and then measuring the performance into the your profit objectives, cost objectives, investment objectives. So, you can say, since everything is measurable in the monetary terms, in the financial terms, it is much better and easier to implement management control system in the business organizations as compared to the non-business or the non-profit organizations. Now, we talk about the features of the management control system. A changing environment often means that organizations must set different sub goals or critical success factors. And second thing is, different sub goals create different targets and different benchmarks for evaluating performance, right. So, it means this slide is most important. When you talk about the management control system, this slide is most important, that future of management control system. If you want to achieve the performance, best performance, you have to implement your desired and targeted results. That happens not in a business organization, that happens in a human life also. Every human being, we set the target for ourselves, right, and we move in a controlled manner, in a desired manner, in a pre-decided manner, in a pre-decided on a pre-decided route or map. I think we end up achieving those objectives and we remain more satisfied. In the business organizations, because it is a sum total of many stakeholders. We have the external stakeholders, we have internal stakeholders, and satisfaction of both the stakeholders is important. Your external stakeholders are your customers, most important. Your suppliers, second most important. Your investors, another important, and satisfaction of everybody is very much required. If your customers stop supporting you, your very purpose of existence is defeated. If your suppliers suppliers start creating the problems, then again the firm will be in trouble. Your distributors, if they are not supporting, your distribution channels are not supporting, because in case of the distribution channels, what happens? Distribution channels are largely the agents of the customers rather than the agents of the sellers or the organizations. So, if you want to make them loyal towards your organization, you have to shift their loyalty from being the agents of the customers to the agent of the organization, and when it can be possible, when it is not difficult for that channel of distribution or that your wholesaler or a retailer, that when he has every reason to tell to the customer that if you buy the product of this company, use the service of this company, you stand benefited, right. So, in both ways he is not telling a lie, company is taking care of his distributor or that dealer, and dealer is taking care of both company and the customer. So, it means all three are in a win-win situation, right. So, it means all external stakeholders are important for the companies, similarly all your internal stakeholders are important for the companies. You have to set the target for employees, but at the same time you have to keep them motivated. You have to set the target for your manufacturing processes, but you have at the same time keep them updated and in a best performing situation. And if you are able to do that, then certainly you are able to create an organization which is excellent in every respect. When you talk about the difference in the multinational companies, why the multinational companies are more successful as compared to the companies performing within the four walls of economy, because they know what is the importance of the customer for them, what is the importance of supplier for them, what is the importance of their say investors for them, what is even the importance of even the government agencies for them. They are more disciplined, they are more responsive organizations. So, as compared to some local organizations, because they know they create the culture of customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, supplier satisfaction, your say the internal manufacturing, improved manufacturing processes, they use the best inputs, they use the best manufacturing processes, and they create the best quality of the products. So, if means the success of means when they are moving from the one country to another country, they are operating for example in 20 countries in the world, what is the secret that people accept their products? Because they know that how to create the best product, best quality of the services, and then how to keep their customers satisfied, and that does not happen without ensuring or implementing a better control system or better quality control, price control, distribution control, and overall kind of the controlled business performance, right. So, finally, I would say here that future of management control system, what it says, a changing environment often means that organizations must set different sub goals or critical success factors. They should keep on evaluating themselves very regularly and try to find out how the environment is changing, how the environmental requirements are changing, and how they have to fit into those requirements. If they do not do that, they are going to be out of the market. You have seen already seen that many Indian companies who were leaders in the market before liberalization of Indian economy, today they have gone out of the market, people have stopped buying their products, and those companies are dead companies, right. So, finally, different sub goals create different targets and different benchmarks for evaluating the performance. So, always evaluate the environment, evaluate yourself, and fix up the targets, sub targets, goals and sub goals, and keep on achieving those targets and goals, and all the times means ensuring that a continuous improvement takes place in our business processes, and organization as a whole performs as the best firm in the market. With this, I will stop here, and certain important things which I could discuss with you in this topic of management control system. There we talked about some techniques which are important in improving the operating performance, improving the financial performance, and when both the performances of any business organization or maybe even the non-business organizations improve, certainly the improved operating performance leads to the improved financial results. And if we are able to improve the say overall financial performance of the organization and maximize the value of the firm for its stakeholders, then certainly we can say that we have achieved the business objectives for which we have come into existence. With this, I stop the discussion on this subject of management accounting, and all these techniques I hope will be very helpful for you to learn about that how the management decision making can be ensured in the companies in the practical situation, and how these techniques are helpful for the management in their day to day decision making. Thank you very much.